A very good morning to all. I, Mr. Subham Das, extend my warm welcome to all the participants joining in today's webinar. We have participants joining across the India and abroad as well. The Ranjit Guru Memorial Series of International Webinar is an initiative by Department of History and Political Science, Jawaharlal Nehru College, Cuttack, in a close collaboration with Center for Adivasi Research and Development of Odisha. It has also completed its 35th round of panel discussion. Though the pandemic has disrupted our day-to-day activities, but this online platform has become an opportunity for us to stay connected with the brilliant minds across the world. The broad theme of our webinar is Initiative Policy Dialogue 2020, COVID-19 and Life Practice Beyond the Pandemic. The topic of the today's session are caste, credential and COVID-19, revisiting the reproduction of socio-economic complexities, new education policy in India, and Balinese local wisdom against COVID-19. To enlighten us on the said topics, we have with us eminent personalities, Professor Santosh Malua, Professor Biplab Loha, Chowdhury, and Professor Dwija Suastana, respectively. Now, I would like to invite Professor Sarath Chandra Pradhan to carry on this session by giving his welcome address.
Thank you, Shubham sir. Good morning, one and all. Learned scholar, participants, academics, and distinguished guests. Welcome you all to this academic exposition. COVID-19 pandemic are not merely serious public health concern. Rather, it produced disastrous socio-economic and political crises in the infected countries. It is not only a greatest but an indicator of inequality and deficiency of a social advancement. Under such deplorable situation, I would feel like leaving space to our learned scholars come resource person, Professor Santosh Kumar Malua, Department of History, Ravenshaw University, to focus elaborately on the topic caste, cradles, and COVID-19, revisiting and reproducing on socio-economic complexities. Friends, recently the Union Cabinet has approved the new Education Policy 2020 with an aim to introduce several changes in the Indian education system from the school level to the college level. The objective of the new Education Policy 2020 is making India a global knowledge superpower. Renaming of the Ministry of HRD to the Ministry of the Education new 5+3+3+4 curricular structure focus on vocational studies in school level from the grade 6 to grade 8, teachings in mother tongue or regional language up to grade 5. Formulated a new and comprehensive national curriculum framework for teachers' education. In this connections, I welcome Professor Biplab Loha Chowdhury, Head, Center for Journalism and Mass Communication, Visva-Bharati University, Shantiniketan, to discuss the new education policy in details and to enlighten us. Friends, there is a old saying, waste not out, want not. Rising so truly today as global leaders and local communities alike increasingly call for a fix for the so-called throwaway culture. But beyond individual household, waste also presented a broader challenges that affect human health and livelihood and environment and prosperity. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, large quantities of the waste originating from the use of disposable face masks and gloves, which were disposed in the rivers and sea, made horrible impact on the marine ecosystem in particular and environment in general. The stay-at-home order has resulted in an increase of household plastic waste because of online shopping. Medical workers, protective gears in hospitals, and medical waste from the COVID-19 patients also contribute to the sharing volumes of medical waste. Under this situation, the importance of local wisdom has great role on waste management to achieve sustainable development goals. People of Bali present an example before the Asian countries how to preserve the environment, particularly in the waste management system. Balinese peoples traditionally observing the Trihita Karana principle, that is, to advocate harmonious relationship between human and God, human and nature. It is a brilliant attempt to preserve the environment and to set an example before the mankind. In this connection, I would like to welcome Professor Dwija Suastana, social activities from the Indonesia, to discuss the issues in details, to enlighten us about Balinese commitment to safeguard the degenerating global environment. I would also request the interested participants to listen and interact with the eminent scholars. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Pradhan. Now, I would like to welcome Ms. Payal Agarwal for go with the guest introductions briefly. Ms. Payal Agarwal, over to you.
Thank you, Rudra sir, for giving me the pleasure to introduce our esteemed guest for today's lecture series. First of all, my warm greetings to one and all. Our first speaker is Professor Santosh Kumar Malua. He is serving in the Department of History, Ravenshaw University, Cuttack. A very energetic and excellent academician, has completed his PhD in 2014 from the prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru University on the topic Between Two Empires, the Dynamics of Transition in 18th Century Bihar. a very committed teacher, has been highly acclaimed by all. Sir, we welcome you on today's lecture series. Sir, your topic as suggested by you is caste, credentials and COVID-19, revisiting the reproduction of socio-economic complexities. Our next speaker is Professor Biplab Chowdhury. He is currently serving as a professor in charge, Center for Journalism and Mass Communication, Visva-Bharati University, Shantiniketan. Now, this is the first central university and institute of national importance in India, working in areas of education policy, Indian communication thought, developing community from within and communication, new media and management. Professor Loha Chowdhury wrote and edited several books, chapters and research articles in several national and international publications, besides having around 20 technical and consultancy reports. Currently, he is the editor-in-chief of International Journal of Peace Education and Development, in editorial board of Springer's Cultural and Communication Series in Contemporary Asia Series, and series editor of Ravindranath Tagore Foundation, New Delhi Publisher Book Series. He has traveled in 11 countries of Europe and Asia as
Hello.
visiting professor, keynote speaker, plenary speaker, session chair, president.
Hello. Hello, Miss Agarwal, are you hear me?
Okay, okay.
Ma'am, please start. You are interrupted in the middle.
Okay, okay. Our first speaker is Professor Santosh Kumar Malua. He is serving in the Department of History, Ravenshaw University, Cuttack, India. A very energetic and excellent academician, has completed his PhD in 2014 from the prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru University on the topic Between Two Empires, the Dynamics of Transition in 18th Century Bihar. A very committed teacher, has been highly acclaimed by all. Sir, we welcome you on today's lecture series. Sir, your topic as suggested by you is caste, credentials and COVID-19, revisiting the reproduction of socio-economic complexities. Our next guest speaker is Professor Biplab Chowdhury. He is currently serving as a professor in charge, Center for Journalism and Mass Communication, Visva-Bharati Shantiniketan. Now, this is the first central university and institute of national importance in India, working in areas of education policy, Indian communication thought, developing community from within and communication, new media and management. Professor Loha Chowdhury wrote and edited several books, chapters and research articles in several national and international publications, besides having around 20 technical and consultancy reports. Currently, he is the editor-in-chief of International Journal of Peace Education and Development, in editorial board of Springer's Cultural and Communication Series in Contemporary Asia Series, and series editor of Ravindranath Tagore Foundation. He has traveled in 11 countries of Europe and Asia as visiting professor, keynote speaker, plenary speaker, session chair, presenter, and visiting researcher. Most recently, he was the visiting researcher to Chulalongkorn University, Bangkok in 2019 and visiting guest professor to Corvinus University, Budapest, Hungary in 2018. He was country director, India, 2 terms from 2015 to 2019 in Asian Congress for Media and Communication. His work of importance include developing community from within the communication, community communication spectrum, information as 6th element, and creator audience matchmaking. Work in progress includes extended communication loop and communication as transdiscipline. Sir, we heartily welcome you to today's lecture series. Sir, your topic as suggested by you is New Education Policy of India. Last but not the least, the celebrated and distinguished guest speaker of today is Professor Dwija Suastana. He has directly connected with us from Indonesia. He is currently serving as a faculty of law in Indonesia Hindu University in Denpasar, Bali. Prior to this, he was serving as a lecturer in Bachelor Degree of Hotel Program and Diploma of Hotel Program. He is a social activist. At present, he is the chairman of Youth Department, World Hindu Parisad, and Secretary General of Prajaniti, Hindu Indonesia of Bali Province. Besides that, he has wide experience of heading a number of such organizations. He has spent 18 years of professional career in hotel and tourism industry, both domestic and overseas. Sir, thanks a lot for connecting with us far away from Indonesia. Sir will put forth his insights on Balinese local wisdom against COVID-19. Now, after this brief introduction, I would like to stop here and invite Professor Santosh Kumar Malua to put forth his talk. Over to Professor Malua.
Well, thank you very much for sweet words, Ms. Payal Agarwal. And I have a special thanks to all the organizers, and my special and exclusive thanks to Dr. Vikram Kesrijana, who was quite instrumental in getting all these things done. So I congratulate all of you to make this thing happen. And I also apologize for not providing the topic in time, and that's why in the flyers you have a different topic under me. And so now, of course, it has been announced in this forum. So I would be talking about caste credentials and COVID-19, revisiting the reproduction of socioeconomic complexities. Well, I hope my voice is audible enough to everyone. And if there is any problem, then please let me know. And so in a moment, I just would like to share this screen. So this is the topic which I have planned here. And I hope this is visible on your device, laptop or anything. So this topic which I want to discuss with you, it's actually in an incomplete collaborative project conceptualized by me, Mr. James Kindo from Department of Sociology, and my senior colleague, Dr. Prajaniti. Well, the idea behind this topic is to look into the current scenario of social distancing and technological intervention in mitigating the distance, particularly in the spheres of teaching and learning. But what generally we are experiencing that it is ultimately recreating the divide on the line of affordability of technology, access to technology, and knowledge of technology. So in the last, since last 6 months and plus minus many days, due to lockdown and social distancing, closure of educational institutions impacted heavily on all of us. As there was no way we could finish the semester course or conduct terminal examinations, publish results, anything. But thanks to the technology, we could do it And in our university, by 10th of October, I guess, we have finished the examination and we are preparing the result. So doing all these things, of course, makes us very comfortable with the technology. But before going further about it, I must share some of the experiences which we had. The first one is actually when we were conducting exam in that blended mode, online, offline kind of thing. So what we find that we, as a guideline suggested to us, given the students or the applicants almost more than 60 minutes and extra time for uploading, doing conversion of PDF and everything. But even then, students are finding it very troublesome for doing that. And many of them had informed later on to me and to many people that some of them had traveled to 10 or 11 kilometers for uploading the answer script, converting them into JPG and all. This is one scenario, and where we were quite problematic in feeling this entire system. The second incident which I wanted to share with you is that after September, this many institutions have started online admissions, and there the production of credentials was becoming again online. So all the applicants were required to upload their certificates, degrees, etc. After scanning and giving it for the claim of their seats and all. But interesting thing happened. 30 to 40% of those applicants did it, but those 30 to 40% applicants could not make clear scan copies. So it can happen to anybody. But that was most problematic, because on the basis of that visibility, many of the institutions are about to reject their applications. So now this technological handicap in making clear scan copy is about to cost them a seat in the institution. So here, these are few incidents which I wanted to share with you, and the entire the talk or the discussion is actually structured in the following lines, where I would be talking about this COVID-19 and educational scenario since last 6 months, then online and teaching and learning method, which is quite prominent here, and the technology as a tool to breach the gap, and the caste definition of socioeconomic gap and its solutions, which we have currently been using. And here I would be trying to bring in two general theories. One of Manuel Cassels, in which he talks about network society and inclusion and exclusion underneath. Then I would be talking about French sociologist Pierre Bourdieu, who talks about cultural capital and habitus in connection with the education. And I would be referring to R.K. Harker's article, in which he also tried to comprehend this idea of reproduction of knowledge, habitus, education, etc. And in this talk, we would be talking about this socio-economic complexities, where we are looking at social and economic aspect, where socially in India, the caste system gives an identity as a backward caste or a forward caste. Economic scenario gives us an understanding of rich and poor, and technology is the new addition to that. So we would be looking and making some questions out of it. Then in the end, I would be mentioning about the available remedies to these complexities, and as it is quite it is visible in this PowerPoint, that the first social inequality is addressed by caste-based reservation, and that economic disparity is now by the new government is addressed by the 10% reservation for economically weaker sections, which is single claim setup of things. But I do not have any say a solution available right now for the technological problem or whatever say kind of backwardness, so-called backwardness people feel or people are experiencing in the field of technology. So this is the complete structure of my discussion today, and so here, the first thing which I would like to bring in here is Manuel Castell's hypothesis of network society and the revolution of information and communication technologies. Castells defines that network society is a society whose social structure is made up of networks powered by microelectronics based information and communication technologies. Historically, there have always been social networks. The key factor that distinguishes network society is that the use of ICTs, information communication technologies, which helps to create and sustain far-flung networks in which new kinds of social relationships are created. And here, according to Castells, there are three processes which led to the emergence of new social structure in the late 20th century. The first one is restructuring of industrial economies to accommodate an open market approach. Second, the freedom-oriented cultural movements of the late 1960s and 70s, including the civil rights movement, feminist movement, environmental movements, etc. And the third one, which is our concern, that is the revolution in information and communication technologies. And Castell's analysis of the significance of these three processes provides a broad historical context for the development paradigms. And the values of individual autonomy and freedom espoused by these cultural change shaped the open network structure for communication. A key aspect of the network society concept is that specific societies, whether nation states or local communities, are deeply affected by, excuse me, inclusion in and exclusion from the global networks that structure production, consumption, communication, and power. Castell's hypothesis is that exclusion is not just a phenomenon that will be gradually wiped out as technological change embraces everyone on the planet, as in the case that everyone has a mobile phone, for example. And he argues that exclusion is a built-in structural feature of this network society. And in part, this is because networks are based on inclusion and exclusion. Networks functions on the basis of incorporating people and resources that are valuable to their task and excluding other people, territories, and activities that have little or no value for the performance of those tasks. So different networks have different rationales and geographies of exclusion. The most fundamental divides in the network society, according to Castells, are the division of labor and the poverty trap. The divide between those who are the source of innovation and value to the network society, those who merely carry out instructions, and those who are irrelevant, whether as workers, not enough education, living in marginal areas with inadequate infrastructure for participation in global production, or as consumers, too poor to be part of the global market. So here, this is one section of theory which is quite applicable in understanding the problem of this online and this technological intervention in this COVID time. So here, the last we will be looking at that who are getting deprivation or providence. So second here, I would like to include the opinion of French sociologist Pierre Bourdieu, and who argues that it is the dominant group that control the economic, social, and political resources whose culture is embodied in these schools, colleges, institutions. Actually, his primary work is on French school system, where he has done his research and made this hypothesis. He pursues us to think that the cultural capital is nothing but our skills, qualifications, expertise, etc. In the same way, we should take cultural capital as we understand economic capital. As our dominant economic institutions are structured to favor those who already possess economic capital. Similarly, our educational institutions, excuse me, our educational institutions are also somehow or the other structured to favor those who possess cultural capital. Our education institution take the cultural capital of dominant group as the natural and only proper sort of capital and treat all children as if they had equal access to it. And what we have done in this online examinations, online admissions and everything, we are doing the same thing. Hence, this cultural capital that the education institution take for granted acts as a most effective filter in the reproduction of or reproductive process of socio-economic complexities. And here, the next aspect he also makes to us to understand is the concept of habitus. So habitus is the way a culture is embodied in any individual in a very simple way, but of course it is a very wide discussions and debates are there. So for this purpose, I'm just making you making the understanding of habitus in a way the culture is ingrained or embodied in our individual behavior and the social transactions. And here R.K. Harker, in his article on reproduction, habitus and education, tries to comprehend that habitus may be called very close to the concept of cultural capital, but in a very personalized sense. So here, when we look these above theories in mind, and when we look at our situation, an emphasis on technology to impart knowledge, then the question of exclusion, as Cassels point out, and the idea of dominant group and cultural capital and habitus, as Bourdieu proposes, became quite evident. And here, in this critical juncture, caste in our society plays very vital role as forward caste or backward caste in the social arena. Then economic status as poor or rich becomes significant to understand these complexities. But as a majority of us are concerned, invest in the idea of caste as a debate between deprivation and providence. And so without detailing much about it, we can see that our idea of backwardness is categorized as social and economic largely. And for these purposes, caste-based reservations or new reservation policies are considered as the solution envisaged by our system. But the question is, what about the technological backwardness? How we can address that? Is there any solution available with us to make it inclusive and not exclusive, or cannot let the dominant group to dictate it as the only mode of our this emphasis on online teaching and learning? So here, when we look at social inequalities, then of course, since last 70 plus years, we have been doing the reservation policies, and through that we want to upgrade socially backward communities to and the so-called mainline participation in the development. Similarly, the couple of years ago, or the recent one, this 10% economically weaker sections reservation, which is introduced here to address the economically weaker sections. So these solutions are quite okay, fine. Means there must be many debates about it. But now the concern looking into this COVID-19 scenario, where our emphasis is many of the introductory speakers were referring that even in this time of social distancing, that's technology which is making us very comfortable being at home and connecting to overseas or any areas or any networks. But the question is, we cannot ignore the effort or the process of this bridging the gap and creating the more divide on the basis of bad network conditions, poor technological knowledge, and literally, many of us do not have the idea how to scan, and many of us means I have seen that many of our students are failing in doing that thing and feeling deprived. And let me, share one of the concerns that one of the visually challenged students was writing this online exam through the scriber, and she was unable to understand what to do and what not to do. So that divide, that socio-economic complexities is, of course, very much on the card here on this emphasis on technology. So this is in short about what I wanted to share with all of you. And I hope I have not taken much of the time. And as I was told, 30 to 40 minutes also, I would be, expecting more questions so that we can more elaborate. We can elaborate more on this aspect of discussions, where the emphasis is that what is the role of caste here, being socially backward, or what is the role of economy here as poor or rich, and what is the status of technology, and how far we are equipped with the knowledge, and we can afford that technology. Or anything, then you can not scan your certificates and send for online admission, and it will have a very blur vision. And if you are doing the same with your answer scripts, then your answer scripts are also not visible to the examiner. Then what will happen to you and what will happen to your career? So thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Malua, for the wonderful deliberation on your said topic. The question answer session we have in the last of our session. Now I would like to request Professor Biplab Loha Chowdhury to initiate his talk. Over to you, Professor Biplab Loha Chowdhury.
Thank you. Today I'll deliberate a little bit on National Education Policy 2020. Are you able to listen to me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I hope today things go well. We already had many discussions on national education policy all over India, and these were in favor and against. Many of these tried to eulogize, hailing the policy as one of the greatest contributions, and on the other side, decrying the policy as being against advancement. So I'll not go into any of these. I'll just talk about few aspects of the new education policy, and it's you to decide whether it would be good or not. I'd also request you to make your contribution by offering proposals to appropriate authorities regarding the implementation. Because we have seen in independent India, implementation of policies were very much tardy. Implementation of policies were often landed in trouble for improving our educational scenario. Before I start, I must accept that despite all odds, the country has been able to improve its literacy scenario, and the new education policy banks on that important advancement too. I'll quickly look into the areas in which the new education policy wanted to correct. It had a national mission for mentoring. You know, in our education, students often have inadequate learning in classes, not only in our system, in every system all over the world. There is inadequate learning, so there must be complementary learning. So in the national education policy, for the first time, it declares a national mission for mentoring, which gives a clear policy direction to the different boards, different universities, how to improve the mentoring scenario. The second point was told in the last national education policy also, equip every class and department for better faculty environment. That was told earlier also. So I'm not going into that. But there is an important point where it is proclaimed that teaching duty burden of the faculty to be lessened to make teaching pleasant. For the first time, it has been accepted that a teacher, to actually offer quality education, needs to have duty which he is able to offer. And we find in our educational institutions, teachers are overburdened. Now, in what way it will be implemented will depend much on different state governments. We have to remember that education is in joint list in our constitution, and in implementing education's any policy, that requires a combined effort. Another very important and which is very soothing for the teachers, that a teacher is not transferable. Not transferable, and as far as practicable, they would be given posting near their homes. This policy also talks about that faculty will be given freedom to develop curricula in case of higher education. I'm talking about higher education segment. And there is talk about tenure track and fast track promotion for high impact research and contribution. This point is also very important. We often find in colleges and universities, some people are very well advanced in research. Despite taking the same burden of teaching, mentoring, etc., they take extra care and extra time by themselves to improve in research, to publish research in very good journals. And for this high impact research, they need to be given proper encouragement. This policy talks about this. Which I like the most in this policy is, for the first time, it is recognized that a college or a university teacher, when he joins as a fresh PhD entrant to take classes, before that, he must take training in how to teach students. And a very wide variety of options given. Like they can take courses on teaching education, they can take courses on pedagogy, and they can take courses on writing, creative writing. This is a very, very important contribution. We all know that now we have the refresher course and the orientation program. And for that program, a teacher goes only after few years. But it is always very important that our classrooms at higher education institutions become very lively, very pleasant, and the teaching method should not be the reason of wastage of interest, waning of interest by the students. So in this higher education framework, in this policy, we find that very important aspect. From pages 11 to 19, we find there is good mention about faculty development. And it is declared that the ambition of learning pedagogy would be to make learning holistic, integrated, enjoyable, and engaging. From 36 to 37 pages in the National Education Policy, we find that in higher education, the holistic and multidisciplinary approach in classes, in practicals, will be encouraged. Page 40 recognizes motivated, energized, and capable faculty. And the page 42 is very, very important, which talks that teacher education, within quote, should be at the center of fundamental reforms in education system. So for higher education, these are very important points. Now, from the analysis of the National Education Policy, I find three pillars and several tie beams which are there to bind this education policy. Number one, about pedagogy. Pedagogy is the most important pillar. Pedagogy, that is how to teach, how to make it student-centric, how to put student and center at the center of the entire education system, how to make it pleasing, experiential. So the pedagogy talks about experiential teaching and learning. And it talks about inquiry-driven learning. If you look into the tradition of our country, this is the country where the Prashno Upanishad was written. The name of the Upanishad is in inquiry, that is Prashna. So, the entire purpose of higher education should be to create an environment of inquiry in students so that they can be self-driven and they can ask teachers questions. They should not be very listless, lifeless creatures being tortured by teachers. The teaching should be holistic. What is holistic teaching? Holistic teaching looks into two aspects. One is the teacher is capable of taking one phenomenon. The teacher is capable of taking one phenomenon to explain various subject matters. Like if you are a science teacher, you should be able to take the growth and development of a plant as the phenomenon which can be shown to students to teach mathematics with reference to the design of the leaves. It can show the chemistry, the photon chemistry and other chemistry with reference to the photosynthesis. It can show them biology. It can show them the aesthetics of design also. So this holistic approach of education is very important, because without this, we cannot expect that our students would be gradually developing a holistic personality where any problem, any issue, they can try to understand from all angles together, or most of the angles together. Much of the problems of education movement, etc. in our country, much of the problem of weakening of our education arises out of this weakness of ours in the strength of general education. General education. Then it should be integrated, learner-centric, and it should be flexible. Often we get many complaints from teachers that in another college there are advantages of technology, there are advantages of big rooms, there are advantages of seating, etc., etc. So we don't have advantages, so we cannot offer it. Ultimately, we have to remember that teacher is the most important environment. If a teacher makes himself hostage of other environments, he cannot actually innovate. We have seen the most important innovators in the world history has come out of problems, because problems create innovations to solve problems. So teachers' approach is very important. Teachers' approach is very important. Discussion based in education, it is reiterated again and again. Greater connect to country and community. This is a very, very important pillar in the education policy of 2020. This policy talks about integration of education, how the different times, the different leisurely items, the different exercises can be integrated in the education, like art integration and sports integration in courses has been taught here in a great way. Another pillar of this education should be the high ambition that it proclaimed to make the country advance and to be in the committee of most developed nations, is creation of text for curriculum. If you look into our text till now are not for holistic education, not for integrated learning, not learner-centric, or neither flexible. So it's very important that we create text books, text modules, text games, text apps, which are appropriate for offering students experiential, inquiry-driven, holistic, and integrated education. In one word, make the education enjoyable, so that no student can leave education despite having monetary hardship also. So what we have to do in creation of text for new curriculum, we have to prune unnecessary meter stones. We have to only put milestones from the earlier research, earlier great contributions. And another weak point of our curricula is we don't consider knowledge generated from within our country of say around 4,000 years, at least 4,000 years tradition of education. Just consider India, starting from before Christ till 1800 AD, was having the highest GDP country of the world. If a country was not educated, it was not possible to applying mind, creating agro-crafty culture and industry, and making this education transgenerational through its castes, through its different guilds, trade centers. So we were rich in education, and the education was very, very important. Consider the Jyotirlingas in India. All these Jyotirlingas are in the same Draghima line. How it was that at that time, at that point of time, they were able to put every Jyotirlinga, the special temples of Shiva, in the same Draghima. It was possible if we consider with respect that we had great astronomical knowledge. Such knowledge does not come without a very systematic study, systematic application of methods. We find all those if we go to Sage Kapil's Shankho Darshana, the Shankho philosophy. In Shankho philosophy, there are 5 stages of research and how research should serve the purpose of the country and humanity. Taram, Tattaram, Sutaram, Ramyakha and Sadamuditam, the 5 stages. We have forgotten that. Today's PhDs are mostly for getting a degree. It's not only for degree. So we have to reimagine. India as a very old transgenerational country has enough of material to reimagine. While it will respect others, it will reimagine on the basis of its own roots. Another very important point in our textbooks is the textbooks during last 30 to 40 years had gradually moved away from giving full picture in history, economics, political science, and even in science. The full picture for critical thinking to one-sided picture. And in that picture, whatever was India's positive contribution were shown as bad, as if in the entire world there is nothing bad in other places. A nation which cannot look into its own things from good, positive angle, also with an eye to correct wrongs, with respect, actually cannot take other resources with respect. When it takes, it's a mimicker. It mimics others only. In India's education, the gradual weakening has come due to this. So we have to do all these things to make our education system, the new education policy, to work very well. This education policy talks about full human blooming with character, ethics, rationality, caring for others, and capable of gainful employment. We find there is a important departure from manpower planning to full human development. This is a very, very important departure this education policy has taken from the last education policy. It calls for mindset creation. Mindset creation, which is very, very important. Now, I'll not deliberate more on national education policy, but I'll look into the specific area, my area of education practice, that is communication area. How we can implement national education policy in our communication education. We have to look into communication itself as a transdiscipline, true to the call of the holistic and integrated learning pedagogy. So, if you look into communication is such a phenomenon which challenges all weakness of human beings to be in conflict with others. There are two ways it can work. One is by convincing others, and the next is going into common orientation, offering others common orientation with reference to issues. Many of the problems that our country faces is due to we have disjunction, we have non-coherence in our orientation to issues. So if we work for common orientation, communication can play a very, very important role. Second point is, in our country, huge number of development programs. Take the case of IRDP, take the case of MGNREGA, take the case of ICDS. This has not achieved that level of success, which with huge money provided to such schemes over so many years could have achieved. And we all know from reports of newspapers and reports by policy bodies, etc., how weakened this makes our population. The improvement we wanted, we could not make. We did a look into the communication strategies for such a review of communication strategies for many government programs. And what we found, in case of successful implementation in different areas, our own communication resources, including human as media, the traditional media, and very clever use of radio was there. Wherever we tried to make use of mass media in rural areas, in hilly areas, it could not completely help the programs to be successful. We need, in our communication discipline, to write new books on the basis of our experience and from the perspective of India. An Indian communication thought, starting from the Vedic period and with artifacts which have been discovered in the period of Indus, we need to give prominence to such communication thoughts There are huge number of resources. This needs to be translated into books in communication. The Indian communication thought must come, because if you don't pour water, if you don't have water in your pond, no fish can thrive and grow. In the same way, in India's communication education, if we lock, stock and barrel follow others, that will not really do any service to us. And the third but very important point, in our country, we need to have a general move from mass communication, dominant teaching and training, to communication at large, teaching and training, including social media, because that is happening to be the media which touches the life of people along with the traditional media the most. Not for the purpose of entertainment only, for the purpose of opinion building, for the purpose of seamless knowledge gathering, for the purpose of sharing own déjà vu moments with others, with sharing very easily without having the restriction of money, etc. The innovations that common man make. I just give you an example. A simple person who does not have much money, he floated a concept during this COVID. What was the concept? That you have leaves coming down from your tree, your plants. Why not you use, when you open your gate or open your door, etc., why not you use this instead of, after opening the door, etc., making use of sanitizers? How? It is cost effective. Because we know that the outside gates, doors, etc., these are having chance to transmit the COVID virus, because on iron, on wood and other medium, this dried for many hours. So this is very simple. As because there is social media, so the person could do it. And social media is also changing the entire approach to research. India's communication research need to move ahead, move fast into the new approach to research also. And where our philosophy, which is nothing but 8 schools of research actually, with research methodology and the knowledge generated from it, that should be taken care of. I'll complete my talk with an old example of what was education in our country. Banabhatta, in his book, talks about 64 Kala, 64 arts. If you look into that, you will find from home to heart, traveling through the country, security, everything, politics, everything. There were 64 knowledge branches which was taught in India. And myself, I found in Harsacharita that public opinion research was very much existent during the time of Harshavardhana with the Harsacharita narratives. Very interesting. What we are doing today in our education, so far we have done aping others. Last 70 years was on to aping others. We gradually have to shift from there. If we shift from there, we'd be capable people to understand what we should take from outside and how we should inculcate it, how the acculturation should go on, like the acculturation we did in our art, the Gandhara art, the acculturation of the Greek, Bactrian, and Indian art, just after coming of Alexander the Great. I'll stop here and I'll take permission to leave because I have to go to a social occasion. If you permit, I complete my lecture by congratulating the college for organizing such an ambitious series of lectures. My great respect to the principal of the college, his team, Rudra Narayan, then the lady who introduces, and Bikram for taking such an arduous task. Thank you all for your patient listening. After a long time, I find there are 53 persons excluding me in this overtaxing lecture also. Thank you all.
Thank you, Professor Chowdhury.
Thank you, sir.
For a wonderful deliberation. And you have tried to touch every aspect of the new education policy. You are trying to reflect the ancient style of teaching and ancient style of policy that we have implemented in the new education policy of 2020. You have touched the Bana Bhatta and other ancient philosophers of India. Definitely, sir. Sir, we have a number of questions for you, and we have, please, sir, please share your mail ID to the chat box. After
I am doing that so that I can give answer. But
yes,
I want to answer to one question by Shubham Das.
yes.
We are having too much infatuation with percentage of GDP. You know, that is one thing. We are too much infatuated with the GDP as a percentage cost for education, right? What percentage of GDP should be there in education? As principle, it's fine. But we are following the line, forgetting that the best of the education that developed in our country were developed in almost no cost, with patronization of people, common man, the jamindar, the common man of the farmers, the artisans. Now for everything, this approach needs to be changed. In everything, we depend on the government. On the other hand, we know that the best of the educated lot in our country, consider the case of Odisha. The person who started in Oriya language, the education, who was a contemporary of Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, who wrote the first primer. What was the cost of his education? In education, your inquisitiveness, Thakur Anukul Chandra says, in education, interest and inquisitiveness is the most important investment. And in no education, money can be any restraint. So it is very important for we teachers to be leaders in the society who with very less cost can offer very good education. Let me give example and finish. In my university, we for last 2 years, 2 of our professors were developing an online platform. We call it online Vidya Charcha. Right? when many of the institutions which purchased from different companies, big companies, the online platform, their services, etc., we went on developing it. Our cost for this entire platform in a month for its server, etc., is around 2,000 rupees. And around 20 departments takes class in that. And our entire online admission test without almost no hitch, without any hitch almost, was conducted for several departments where thousands and thousands of candidates participated. Especially in this age of open source learning, open source platforms, this type of debates would gradually become irrelevant. But it is also very important to put more and more money into research, going to Kopil Sankho tradition, for such research which would help community, help country to develop itself, to solve its problems. So that is my answer to Shubham Das. I can answer other questions. I am putting my email here. If you give that questions, I'll definitely answer. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, but we need to be not much dependent on the government.
Okay.
That is very important point. We must be dependent on our innovativeness, our creativity, and we must take challenge. I complete by telling a simple message of Thakur Anukul Chandra. He told, "Hey teacher, for you no student can be a problem. If there is any problem, it is within you. Uproot it." It's very important. All great teachers all over the world are in that mold. And every teacher is great because he trains the mind. If a teacher becomes a servant, he cannot train the mind. We have to remember it. Thank you all.
Thank you, Professor Chowdhury, for the thought-provoking deliberation on question. Now, I would like to request Professor Dwija Suastana for delivering his talk.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dwija. At present, I'm a lecturer at Indonesia Hindu University in Bali. And organizationally, I'm also involving myself in organization that based in Bali, the World Hindu Parisad, that at present is led by His Honorable Mr. Made Mangkupastika, the former governor of Bali. And as the moderator mentioned before, I am also actively in an organization called Prajaniti. And this is my great honor to be with you, with all of you, to present my topic. And my today's topic is Bali local wisdom against COVID-19. And please let me to take my time to doing my presentation. Respected Principal of Jawaharlal Nehru College, Professor Sarat Pradhan, thank you for the opportunity for myself, and also, ladies and gentlemen,
all the intellectuals in Jawaharlal Nehru College. This is a very great opportunity for all of us in order to connect the intellectual civilization between us, between India and Indonesia, especially in Bali, between India and Bali. I'm hoping that my presentation is pop up on your screen, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello. No, sir.
Yes.
Presentation is not.
Yeah. All
Your
right. Let me try again. Oh, okay. One moment, please.
Okay, sir.
Is there anything coming?
Yes, yes. Now the presentation is visible.
It's visible. It's visible,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir. Now your presentation is visible, sir.
Is the presentation title is Balinese Local Wisdom? Is that correct?
Yes, yes, sir. You can start.
All right, thank you. Balinese local wisdom against COVID-19. At this time, I feel a great honor to present this presentation in front of all the intellectual people in Jawaharlal Nehru College. And before I start my presentation, ladies and gentlemen, let me doing some flashback, some connection that we have been made recently on behalf of the World Hindu Parisad. Our president of World Hindu Parisad have visited Odisha in order to strengthen the connection and also to digital tracing, and also visual tracing, what was happening 1,000 years ago between India and Bali, especially. And on that time, last year, our president is inaugurated the Padmasana, the shrine, a Balinese shrine that located in Odisha. And as you can see all, that is the picture. And I'm sure that you know, you acknowledge who are the person on the picture. And also this location, because I never been to Odisha or at this place, but my mind is in this place already. And this is also pictures. I'm sure that you will help me to inform me where is this. I'm sure that you already know this. And well, this is my intellectual base, the University of Hindu Indonesia, or in Bahasa we call it Universitas Hindu Indonesia. The location is in Denpasar, and by this time we are looking forward a mutual intellectual collaboration between Jawaharlal Nehru College and also with Universitas Hindu Indonesia. Before I forget, let me express the president of World Hindu Parisad very happy and say hello to all of you. And we are hoping that after this pandemic, COVID-19, we could visit Odisha or Jawaharlal Nehru College in the nearest future. And also there is a warm regard from our rector, Professor Dr. Imade Damriyasa, is the rector of Universitas Hindu Indonesia. Say hello to you all. And we are hoping that this webinar will be a starting point of us between both of us to maintain and to make a better and next collaboration. And in order to connect the intellectual side here, to let you know that the University of Hindu Indonesia, we established the healthy house of Ayurveda. That's the only one clinical and also laboratory of Ayurveda in Denpasar, Bali. And we are hoping in the nearest future, JNC will visit us to see more about the Ayurveda treatment and Ayurveda healthy laboratory in Unhi, in University of Hindu Indonesia. And this is the inauguration of the Ayurvedic laboratory, the Ayurvedic treatment, the Ayurvedic house. And also we invite the Consul General of India that based in Bali. Well, now please accept my warm welcome by saying Om Swastiastu, Namaste, Namaskar to all of you. And we're hoping that we are looking forward for your coming to Bali in the nearest future, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see in the picture, in my presentation, we believe in Bali. Bali is the island of God, and we believe that we are protected by 9 gods. We call it Astadala. We call it Dewata Namasana, that protects all direction all over Bali. We believe on that. But of course, only one Almighty God with 1,000 of names, as we know already. Well, just a slight overview about Bali, ladies and gentlemen. Bali is a province in Indonesia whose provincial capital is Denpasar. Bali is also one of the islands of the Nusa Tenggara Island. Bali is also known as Small Sundaland. I'm sure that you ever heard the story of Sunda and Upasunda. In the ancient time, we believe that between Bali and India, geographically, is one big land. So that's why Bali is called a Small Sundaland. The area of Bali Island, ladies and gentlemen, is about 5,780 square kilometers. It's a small island already. It's a small island, but yes, we are depending on tourism. And nowadays, as you can see, as you can read in the internet, tourism is 90% affected by, almost 100% affected by this global pandemic COVID-19. Well, next slide. Custom and tradition in Bali. Indonesian tradition comprise the nation beliefs, value, and custom practiced by its people. Indonesia isn't just an island nation. It is a vast country comprising several archipelago and a varied demographic range of more than 300 ethnic peoples, and these people speak over 700 living languages. And although there are some general underlying rules how Indonesians communicate and behave among each other, some islands have their own custom. Bali is no exception. And the fact is, Bali population is mostly Hindu. their way of life and openness toward other cultures diverse from their Muslim neighbor greatly. About communication, salutation. Though modern Balinese shake hands as Westerners do, but the traditional salute is the sembah. As you can see my hand, or namaste in India, Om Swastiastu in Balinese, where the palms are joined together and placed vertically against the chest. In this position, Indonesians should say Om Swastiastu, or may peace be with you to each other. And now we are talking about Bali local wisdoms against COVID-19. Let me share to you a brief fact of this condition. According to my basic in law, in managing this COVID-19, Bali province has several rules and regulations in order to manage the spread of the coronavirus. According to Bali province regulation number 4, the year of 2020, about customary village or traditional village, this regulation organizes how the community lives in all aspects. In higher rules hierarchy, because we are part of Indonesia, the government of Bali has issued several regulations related to the management of COVID-19 issues. Well, just to share to you, to all of you, about the update per yesterday updated information about how the COVID-19 affected Bali nowadays. As positive condition in Bali is reached the number of 10,697 people. On medication, on the they are now in hospital and also in the isolation place is about 849 people. And they also, we have a number of recover from the COVID-19. Almost 10,000. Sorry, almost 10,000. It's 9,505 people. And the people who were dead on this situation is about 343 people. This is actually a very challenging situation now in Bali, but my presentation is a gentle reminder for myself and also for all of us that we are in Bali, and I'm sure that in India, in everywhere place in the world, they have their own way how to taking care, how to handle pandemic like COVID-19. Yes, how the Bali government deals with the global COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, as like what in other country and other area, synergy between a local government and then the traditional village, the Hindu Parisad and also the national government is collaborating in order to anticipate and also to what we can call it to release this pandemic. The government of Republic of Indonesia has already declaring several policies and procedures how to repress the spread out of this global pandemic. National Government Rules number 21, year 2020, concerning about large-scale social restriction. Then its implementation in Bali especially, the local government issuing regulation with the same scheme, because the higher regulation, Indonesia national government regulation, must be obeyed, must be followed by the local government, each province in Indonesia. For your information, the Bali, the total province in Indonesia is about is 34 provinces. In the scope of Bali, of course, we have to continue and follow the national regulation. Well, now we are focusing in Bali because I'm talking about Bali local wisdom. We must talk about the traditional village. The traditional village in Bali, there are 1,493 traditional village, customary village, that's actively involved to overcome this pandemic. Each customary village or traditional village system has their own regulation, has their own traditional rules. We call it in Bahasa, in Balinese Bahasa, in Balinese language, is aweg-aweg and perarem. I think it's very difficult to you to pronounce it. And this aweg-aweg or perarem or this traditional regulation mentioning the roles of all village stakeholders, including the pecalang. Pecalang is a traditional security guard that exists from 1,000 years until today in Bali. And of course, until today, and especially the University of Indonesia is now developing herbal medication, Ayurvedic medication, how to keep and improve our immunity in order to struggle from this virus. Of course, in Bali, we are doing the rituals and the 3 mandala function, both in the temples, holy temples, and also the village compounds. And this is the picture of the pecalang, the traditional security guard that belong to the traditional village. The traditional village is led by a leader called Bendesa, or Klian Desa. Like in India, for the Balinese herbal medication, in Bali we also use many herbal medication in order to keep immune against COVID-19. Yes, like the principal said at the beginning of this webinar, about the Trihita Karana is the way of life of Balinese people. Ritual. We are doing the ritual because we believe to release any disease, viruses, or maybe a bad spirit. Ritual is one of the way out. Is one of the way out from many way out. This has been implemented for 1,000 years until today in Bali. I mentioned before about 3 mandala. It's a spiritual distancing. Now, globally, we learn, we read about social distancing. Ancient time ago, a long time ago, the ancestor from India, our ancestor from India, Balinese ancestor, they already learn about spiritual distancing. We call it mandala. Like, where is the Uttama mandala, and Madhya mandala is the second layer place in the temple, and the Nista mandala is the outside, the most outside place where people can communicate, do the social relationship in the area of the temples. Same goes to the Balinese compound, the Balinese houses. Balinese houses is also divided into mandala. There is the place for the parahyangan. Parahyangan is the temples, the house temple, the family temples, and pawongan is the place for the people to do the social life, to sleep, to socialize each other, to do any of the human beings activities. And pelemahan is the part of the we have in the each compound in Bali, especially in the village, we have the uh, uh, a spot of where the vegetable is growing, where the plantation, the tree is growing, but still in one place in our family compounds. Well, talking about a traditional or value in Bali, before we are entering a temple in Bali, we do a water purification. I'm sure that this is same goes to India. We are doing water purification. The smallest purification, we just pouring the holy water into our heads. But the bigger one is we are doing in a temple that there is a natural holy water available in that temple. I'm sure that you can search in your Google. Tirta Empul Temple is the most famous temple for holy water purification in Bali. Of course, this is to cleanse our body, mind, and soul before we are entering the Utama Mandala. Before the principle mentioning about the Trihitakarana, well, this is actually implemented in Bali. All you already know about the harmony with the gods and how we make the harmony relationship with the among human beings and also with the nature. But of course, this high value is very important for us. But socially, we are facing a challenge because the movement of Balinese, the movement of other island, they go to Bali to having some social life. They are working here. We are having the challenge right now, as you can see and you monitor on the internet about what we are happening in Bali. Especially Bali is, I think today Bali is almost 70% Hindu, Balinese Hindu. Almost. But before, long time ago, almost 95% Balinese is Hindu. Well, involvement of the community. This is a part of the Pawangan. In order to struggle from this pandemic COVID-19, our community in Bali took important respective roles. Luckily, the roles of the village leader, along with the special task force on COVID-19 in each village of all over Bali, their duty is to educate people. How important is to obeying the health protocols. They have to use the masks, use the hand sanitizer and face shields in order to protect themselves from the spread out of the viruses. And I show you the picture of what we are doing in the human being side. We are, until today, we are still doing the food distribution by the special task force for COVID-19. This special task force exists in every traditional village in Bali. They are still doing right now because economically we are facing a challenge because tourism in Bali has an important role in Balinese life, but nowadays tourism affected 100% by the viruses. So the economically the Balinese life is getting slower and slower. And also the local community and also along with the government, along with the authority like the police and also the soldier, the local soldier, they are spraying out the disinfectant in the community compound in order to reduce the bacterial things, the viruses, and also related to the anticipation of the COVID-19 improvement. Well, last but not least, in Bali nowadays, and I'm sure in India as well, in Odisha, we are doing our best. Let us doing our best, and let's the God do the rest. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dwija, for your wonderful deliberation on the culture, on the cultural similarities between India and Indonesia. And definitely, we are very happy to have you on our dais to listen from you, to host you. So now there is a few questions for you. Now I would like to request Professor Das for carry on the question answer session with Professor Dwija.
Thank you, sir. Sir, there are three questions for you. One question is asked by Prabhat Kumar Jana. How COVID-19 affected educational institution in Bali province? Whether schools are opened or dependent on digital platform?
The first question is about digital platform of COVID-19. Am I correct?
Yes.
Right. So should I answer one by one?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Subhas Das Ji, for your question. This is a very good question. What we are doing now in Bali in terms of digital platform in anticipating and also in facing the COVID-19. Well, in Bali, 100% young people, same goes to India, they are using the smartphone. We do implement some digital platform in each government website as well, and also we have the platform in each organizational website. Officially in local Balinese government, you can search. I will give you the link later about how the government openly give the information, updated information daily basis about the improvement. But actually improvement, we don't expect the improvement, but the information about the COVID-19, because day by day increasingly the number is increasing significantly. So they have the website, and we all openly can access the website. And also the people now, because of the COVID-19, mostly we are doing all the things from home, studying from home, work from home, everything is from home. So that's why this situation like force the Balinese people, they have to know the technology. Everybody, they have to access the website. They have to access the latest updated information via the digital platform, via the website, and also television as well, the normal television. So I think this is happening, and also same goes to India also. I think that's it, Mr. Subhamdas Ji, my answer to you. Thank you very much.
Sir, another question is from SK Imran. What is the financial as well as psychological effect on the tradition and culture during the pandemic, and what measures had been taken by the government to overcome from it further? We know that the Ayurveda is the birth of medical science. Would you prefer the tradition and the culture should be followed further, or in the developing world, the tradition and culture could set behind What is your opinion regarding?
Yes, I got your point. The keyword is the financially. Am I right, Subhasdi?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Well, because of this pandemic COVID-19, financially, this is affected to our national budget, Indonesia national budget, and also the local budget. Since my presentation is about Balinese local wisdom, where the customary village involving at this site, the government allocate the financial financial distribution to the village directly, and also helped by the private company in Bali. The many companies in Bali, they are doing the corporate social responsibility in order to help the people, because many people lost their job, or even they just work from home with a limited salary. So government has doing their best to help the Balinese people, and also the private company like telecommunication company, especially in the educational side. We are helped by the telecommunication provider by provide us a quota, internet quota, to do the study, the learning process from home. So we can do, for example, today we can do the webinar online. That's also part of the government assistance to the local community in Bali. Subhamdas.
Another question is from Bikram Kesari Jena. How this talk promoting the relationship of Odisha and Indonesia? Do you believe it become a bridge between your country and our state?
Yes. Atita Nagata Wartamana. So we learn from the past. Now at present we are improving ourselves, and this is to prepare the future. So I'm lucky to be a Balinese, and I'm lucky to be a Hindu. I believe that ancient time ago, our ancestor has created a high quality civilization. So I'm very sure that we can make a greater potential relationship between Odisha and Bali, especially. And I will pass this. I'm sure that this is part of your request. I will pass your message to our president of World Hindu Parisad. He is very concerned with Odisha, because in ashram he built a Padmasana, and I'm sure that in the nearest future we will visit Odisha to make a greater potential relationship between Bali and Odisha.
Sir, the last question for you is from Vikram Mahapatra. Continuity of Indian culture in Bali, how far accepted by the new generation?
Well, Balinese people is very open. Not just India culture. The people of Bali accepted is a tolerance of the acculturation of the culture. For example, like yoga and meditation. Yoga and meditation is very long time, very popular in India, and now is very popular in Bali. And most of the teacher came from Indian nationality that based in Bali. They help us very much. And also about the art and culture, about the artists, there are some acculturation in the dancing in Bali that the movement of the dancer is combination movement between Balinese dance and India dance. I have been involving in the international event since the year of 2017 in the World Indo Parisad. We are putting like in the opening ceremony, the Indian dance we put in the to open the ceremony combination with the Balinese dance. Culture, I believe culture is the heritage from our ancestor that we can make it up. We can do some creativity, but not we may not lose the core of the culture. Subham Dasji.
Thank you, sir. Odisha
Thank you.
has also a close relations with Indonesia. That our former Chief Minister of Odisha, Biju Patnaik, is also known as the son of the soil of Indonesia. So, Alekho Ghadai sir, have a last question for you. Odisha is closely related with Bali since ancient times. Could you throw light on these relations during COVID pandemic?
Yes. Well, I learned that Kalinga Bali Yatra were doing regularly in Odisha. I believe I learned that the ancestor of Odisha, they went to Bali to do some social and economic activities, and in order to memorize this journey, this voyage, the Kalinga Bali Yatra is held. So during this pandemic, COVID-19, this is a starting point for us to strengthen the relationship between Odisha and Bali by these virtual meetings. Let us do something. We exchange the information, what we can do to help each other. At least we help with the information. Who knows, in Odisha there is something important related to the vaccine is found. Of course, we need to know this information. Now in Bali, we are formulating the herbal medication, how to improve our immune. Of course, we can not just do communication relationship, but also in all sector of life, especially to struggling from this pandemic COVID-19.
Thank you, sir. We are extremely happy to interact with you. We hope that we will also interact with you in future also. And now I would like to invite Professor Malua to respond to your question from us.
Is Professor Malua is here? No. So Malua is not with us. So let us close the question answer session. And we are very much excited and very much happy to host both three of our eminent speakers today, Professor Malua, Professor Chowdhury, and Professor Dwija. And now I would like to invite Professor Baidhar Das for the vote of thanks. Please go with Professor Baidhar Das. Please start.
Am I audible? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Yes, sir, you are audible.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to all. I am honored and lucky to have the opportunity to give a formal vote of thanks for this section. First of all, I would like to thank our esteemed guest, Professor Santosh Malua, for his insightful discussion on caste credential and COVID-19, revisiting the reproduction of socio-economic complexities. I would also like to give my hearty thanks to Professor Biplab Loha Chowdhury and Professor Dwija for their thought-provoking presentation on new education policy in India and Bali leads local wisdom against COVID-19, respectively. I extend my happy thanks to Dr. Vikram Kesari Jena, Director of CAD, Odisha, and Chinmay Sahu, Executive Director of CAD, for their friendly cooperation to organizing this webinar. I would also like to express my profound gratitude to our Principal, Professor Paulab Chakraborty, for his cooperation in organizing this webinar. I would also like to thank Convener Professor Saratandra Pradhan, Co-Convener Mr. Shubham Das, Coordinator Mr. Rudranan Das, Co-Coordinator Ms. Payal Agrala, for their support and guidance to organize this event. Lastly, I am happy to express vote of thanks to all the participants, including academia and students, civil society members,